you listen to reason? Will you open your eyes?
Randy in Las Vegas.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Thanks for waiting.
Hey, thanks. I love the show, guys. Just caught you guys on YouTube maybe 3 or 4 days ago.
All right.
And I was compelled to tell almost all of my friends about it. And everybody likes what you guys do, and either atheists or Christians or whatever religion. So I really appreciate what you guys do.
Well, we appreciate that. Thanks very much.
My comment is, I guess I would be considered an atheist by the definition that I don't, follow any theistic religion. However, I do sort of follow some of the intelligent design theories. And I think a lot of the guys who talk about intelligent design do it a disservice. When they say intelligent design, they all seem to refer to intelligent design, meaning there's an intelligent designer behind this design. And personally, I believe that the universe itself has probably always been here. I have no evidence to say that it hasn't. And I believe that the universe itself is intelligent. The fabric, whatever the fabric is that we call the universe, whatever it makes it up, the smallest piece of the entire universe, that one thing is just inherently intelligent, period.
So you're a pantheist.
I don't know who designed it. I don't know where it came from. It just appears that whatever existence started, this whole thing is just intelligent.
Well, that's pantheism, right?
I guess in a way, yeah.
Yeah, it's a kind of pantheism.
Believing that God is in everything, basically, or is everything.
Yeah, and
I don't even like to use that word God. That word God tends to get a little. I mean, for conversation, I guess we can use whatever. Sure. But just that word has been hijacked and it has a bad connotation. So it's almost like a skeptic or conspiracy theory. Just existence is a lot more comfortable for myself.
Yeah, I can appreciate where you're coming from, but I think I'm not sure I agree with your desire to just anthropomorphize stuff. I mean, for one thing, I think that you're just mistaken about our understanding of some things. Like when you say the universe always existed and we have no reason to think it didn't, I mean, what do you think about the Big Bang then?
The first time I really had a good explanation when I heard Matt describe it on one of you guys' old podcasts on YouTube, and I guess from what I gather you guys think is that there was something here and it exploded and expanded outward. If I'm wrong, could you please educate me a little more?
I mean, essentially, yes. I mean, but the universe hasn't always existed in its present form, certainly, and what happened before the Big Bang, if that even means anything, is too complicated to, I mean, is
that's kind of
too far back in history for us to actually know anything about.
I mean, there is a limit to our actual knowledge of our origins right now. I mean, we don't have all the answers. I mean, that is first off the number one thing that anyone will tell you, especially with an extensive background in science. So, like, well, we don't know it all yet.
But when you say the universe existed, you're not just talking. I mean, apparently, what you're just saying is some cluster of matter that we now call the universe always existed.
Right.
Is that it?
Yeah.
What do you mean by intelligent?
Something, after listening to like the unified field things and things on consciousness.
I know lots of people think there's a unified field theory without bringing that word into it. So what do you mean?
Personally, I believe just consciousness, some piece of existence that's aware of its own existence, and begins to expand and move outward.
How do you know that the universe has that? Because
I don't think he's saying he knows it. I think he's saying that this is an idea he's entertaining.
But as far as we know, consciousness and intelligence and sentience and stuff like that, it only exists, as far as we've ever seen, as the product of brains or brain-like processes, like we might describe a computer program as intelligent if we really stretch the definition. But those are already the end result of a complex evolutionary process. So what makes you think that the universe has this sort of, I mean, if you think it's intelligent, can we talk to it in some way? I mean, how would you know, how would you test this idea that you have?
I just remember hearing something from, I believe it was scientist Max Planck, and they were talking about the God particle. And they basically say that all atoms or molecules, all atoms only come into existence because of there is some form of consciousness which holds them together. For example, an atom.
I don't think that's what Planck says.
I don't think when you're talking about the God particle or the Higgs boson, they're not really talking about something that they think is at least I haven't heard anyone in the scientific community refer to it as something they think is a sentient or a thinking or intelligent particle, but at least it's, what they simply mean is there's got to be a most basic particle of all particles from which everything else comes. I mean, there's got to be... Wait. Right? Or
actually...
no, I'm sorry.
Actually, it turns out Max Planck was probably a theist, or at least Wikipedians tell me that he said all matter originates and exists only by virtue of a force which brings the particle of an atom to vibration and holds this most minute solar system of the atom together.
That's the quote I was trying to find. There you go.
We must assume behind this force there exists the existence of a conscious and intelligent mind. The mind is the matrix of all matter. But did he have any evidence for that, or is he just using his authority to say it?
Right, because he even right there, he says he's assuming. So, at that point, this is kind of where he's putting, here's where my scientific evidence for things stops, and this is where I'm now sort of moving into a belief perspective. And it's fine. I mean, if you're Max Planck and you want to say that, when you get right down into basic, from a scientific standpoint, you have to go, okay, but that's just an assumption that Planck is making because it's appealing to him. And is this to say that at no point ever in the future we might suddenly have a eureka moment and think, oh my goodness, all these particles and materials in the world are thinking sentient things? Well, you know, we don't know that yet. I don't think that is where the current research and evidence is leading us, but certainly at Max Planck time, and certainly we have Planck to thank for pretty much most of what we know and have built upon today in terms of physics and cosmology.
Well, that might be overstated.
Well, I mean, he was one of the big big nibs of in physics. He's even he
quantum
there
theory.
Is admitting
the founder of quantum theory.
There we are.
Thanks, Wikipedia.
He is at least even there saying I am making an assumption now.
Right.
And he admits it.
Hypothesis, an educated guess at that, which everything was. I mean, at one time, the world being flat was pure science. So science is always evolving. But it seems I can see where they're coming from. That as of right now, I see no evidence that is not true. Just as much as I see no evidence that it is as much.
Yeah,
either,
but I think
the point is you don't.
As a plausible hypothesis.
Well, the point is that the time to start thinking that an idea is really worthy of consideration and possibly actually a true idea is when the evidence here is, because remember, it's not, the burden of proof is on the positive claim, not the negative claim. So it's not that we don't have evidence that it isn't true, because I also don't have evidence that there is not a ninja behind me right this minute, right? Because that's not how you think of these ideas. You think of them in terms of once the evidence is for thinking sentient particles as the foundation of the universe, that's when we can start to take the idea seriously as anything more than we can, it's an assumption, and it's an assumption that I'm making just because I find it appealing. But it's not scientific. It's not a thing we have evidence for, and you got to draw that distinction at that point.
And what about ghosts? I would assume you guys don't believe in ghosts, being that I don't think you believe that there's a life after death, or once you die, it's over. You don't believe in ghosts?
Nope.
I don't
be wrong.
I could be wrong. I don't know that there's anything in biology to lend evidence to the idea that there's something about us that carries on after death. And here's an additional problem that I have with ghosts that I've actually gotten some of this, from some friends of mine on Facebook. We've talked about this a bit, and a fellow good buddy of mine, Tommy Ryan, came up with a wonderful set of questions about ghosts. I'm a guy and I die, right? And when I die, I suddenly find out, my goodness, not only did I have a soul, not only did I have a spirit, but look, I'm still around. I'm in the world, I'm in the environment, I'm part of this world, but I'm ghostly, I'm ethereal. So what do I do as a ghost? Do I immediately go and find my way to the nearest group of actual scientists and say, hello scientists, look at me, I'm a ghost, and I'm dead, and I'm still here, and stuff. Why don't we work together, and I'll give you all of this amazing first-hand evidence of the afterlife. You can document it, you can interview me, you can do a paper, and get your Nobel Prizes. This will be great. I can completely help you out with all of this ghostly afterlife business. Or do I do this? Do I hang around an empty, deserted house, randomly opening and closing doors, bumping lamps off tables,
rattling chains?
Yeah, rattling chains, and just scaring the piss out of some crazy old lady who nobody's going to believe anyway, and then going off. Am I just going to be this, big ethereal dead troll Is that what I'm going to be? So that's why.
Weren't the Ghostbusters just the worst scientists in the world?
But they had their thing.
But they show up and they've got, look guys, we've got absolute proof of life after death. Should we study it? No, let's put it in a trap.
Yeah. Well,
and leave it there.
Yeah. Yes. So I'll believe in ghosts when I get slimed.
Right.
And not
right.
But
I think.
Thanks for calling. Again, it's just, speculation's all well and good, but we can't really say that we know things. And as appealing as it is to think that maybe there's some thought and mind, as part of the universe too, just be aware that we're people, and the universe is a really big place. And the more we learn about it and the bigger it gets, the more sort of scary and cold and empty and remote it seems. And it's very natural for us as people to kind of want to put a face on that, to make it seem less scary and less big and less remote and, less full of vacuum and black holes. And, folks have been doing that, ever since, primitive man looked up and saw the sun and decided it was some god riding a chariot across the sky, and that's why we had a sun. And nowadays we look at, we try to dress that up in more scientific terms, but that's more based on an emotional human desire to not feel lonely and scared than it is like actual science. And so it's understandable. But, hey, who knows what we may discover someday. I don't think we're going to discover that, but who knows. But thanks for calling. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate the call.
You take care.
Bye, Randy.